Hello and welcome to the Bedtime Sleep, a place where science drifts gently through your mind like wine through the trees. If you enjoy slow stories that teach while helping you rest, feel free to subscribe. We share a new bedtime journey every evening, and your thoughts in the comments guide what dreams we shape next. Now, close your eyes and let yourself fall inward. You are lying still, but the world inside you is moving, not loudly, not with fanfare or flashes, but like the quiet of leaves in deep woods. Your brain murmurs with soft activity, whispers of electricity flowing, patterns unfolding, adjusting, evolving. Even now, as sleep tiptoes toward you, this place inside your skull is a forest without birdsong, a forest built from billions of living trees. They don't grow from dirt or drink water from roots. They grow from moments, from what you feel and touch and try to understand. Each one is a neuron, a single tree in this enormous, hidden woodland. They stretch their limbs, called dendrites, toward other trees nearby, reaching, waiting. Sometimes they connect. And when they do, it's like fireflies meeting in the dark. A flicker of light leaps across. A thought is born. You may think of thoughts as things you have, but really, thoughts are things you build. They are the pathways carved by a life lived. Not just once, but over and over. Every time you learn something new. Every time you notice something small. A path is cleared a little deeper in your forest, like walking again and again on soft ground. You press your attention into the brain's earth, and something grows. This process has a name, neuroplasticity. But you don't need to remember the term tonight. Just know this. Your mind is never finished. It is always in motion, always listening, like a forest after rain. It reshapes with every step you take through it, even as you lie here now, still and quiet and breathing slowly. Your brain is making subtle choices. It's deciding which connections to strengthen, which to leave behind, which to cradle until morning. Some of those choices come from your memories. The things you saw today, the words you heard, the feelings that pass through you like wind. Others come from the rhythm of your breath, the way your muscles soften into the mattress, the weight of your head. Your brain notices everything, not with judgment, but with care. It gathers and gathers, and builds and builds, and slowly, like a trail forming beneath your feet, understanding blooms. Imagine now that you are walking through this forest. The trees are glowing faintly. You do not rush. There is no need. Here, everything unfolds in its own time. You see a branch stretching across the path. It's a new idea, one you tried earlier today. You duck beneath it gently, and it brushes your cheek with warmth. Further ahead, you see older trees, thicker, sturdier. These are your habits, your memories, your beliefs. They do not block your path. They guide it. You walk between them like someone returning home. And the forest welcomes you, because it knows you. You made it. But even here, nothing stays the same. The trees lean toward different light each day. New roots curl into new ground. What matters most is not how fast you walk, but that you stay curious and kind to your own mind. This forest cannot be burned by failure. It cannot be broken by age. It only waits, quietly, patiently, for you to wonder. Because wondering is how the trees grow taller. There is something beautiful about knowing that change does not always come loud. It comes softly, with a single question, a single thought, a single choice to try again. When you repeat something, a word, a movement, a memory, you trace a trail in this forest, and the more you walk it, the easier it becomes to follow. This is how you learn, not in leaps, but in layers. And that means every moment matters. Even now, even as you lie still in the hush of evening, your brain isn't a machine. It's a living, breathing process, always sculpting itself to fit who you are becoming. And the sculptor is you. There is no deadline, no test, no competition, only a quiet rhythm of growth and rest, curiosity and pause, effort and ease. And perhaps the most remarkable part is this: even when you aren't trying, your brain keeps building, even now, as your breath slows, as your body settles, as your eyes grow heavy. The forest is still growing, and maybe that's why it's so comforting to know that you are never stuck, never frozen, never finished, because this brain, your brain, will always listen. It will always reach. It will always find its way forward, softly, silently, surely. And just as a forest begins with soil, your journey begins with awareness, the simple knowing that change is not a mountain to climb, but a seed already planted. You don't need to force it. You only need to let it be nourished. Now, in the next chapter, we'll walk deeper into the trees. We'll meet the neurons, the messengers, that carry your thoughts like whispers from one branch to another. For in every connection they form, there is a story waiting to unfold. The forest inside your head is alive, but it's not made of wood or leaves. It's woven from signals, passed in silence, by the most delicate of messengers. Neurons. You've already met them in passing, felt them brushing the edges of your awareness like wind against skin. Now we walk deeper, to sit with them, to listen to how they speak. You have billions of them, tiny cells with long, reaching arms. Each one is like a tree that doesn't just stand, but leans toward connection. One branch reaches out. It sends a signal, not through sound, but through something more electric, more intimate. A whisper of charge, a quiet spark. This signal doesn't leap blindly. It follows a path, from one cell to the next, moving across what's called a synapse, a space so small it's almost imaginary, and yet so full of meaning. Think of it like this. Each synapse is a tiny footbridge, built out of possibility, and every time you think, feel, remember, you choose to cross one of these bridges. Sometimes you build a new one. Sometimes you reinforce an old one. These crossings are your thoughts, not thoughts in language. Not yet, just raw pulses. Like fireflies lighting up a summer sky in patterns only they can understand. You don't need to command them. They know what to do. Some have fired 1,000 times today. The ones you use often. The ones that carry the rhythm of your name. Your morning routines. Your favorite songs. Others wait quietly. And used, unnoticed. But not gone. They wait for your attention. For curiosity to find them. For a new idea to ignite them. This is how learning begins. Let's say you try something new. A dance step. A word in a new language. A different way of solving a puzzle. The first time, it feels awkward. Like walking across a tightrope in the fog. That's because the neurons are just reaching. They haven't built the footbridge yet. They're waving across the gap, sending their signals into the dark, hoping to connect. And when they do, that first spark, it's like lighting a candle in the forest. The next time, the spark is stronger. The connection is clearer. The tightrope becomes a path. The path becomes a road. And soon, what was once difficult becomes effortless. This is practice. This is repetition. This is your brain laying down a road, so you can travel that thought without stumbling. Each neuron is patient. It does not force itself upon you. It waits. It listens. And when you return to it, even years later, it remembers. Think of how you never forget how to ride a bicycle, or how your fingers know the shape of certain words on a keyboard before your mind even catches up. Those are old roads, deeply worn into the landscape of your mind. But neurons can also change. They are not fixed. They break old ties and form new ones. They're sculptors, working in invisible clay. This adaptability is what makes your brain so magical. It's not just a container of facts. It's a conversation, an ongoing collaboration between experience and biology. Even now, as you listen, as you breathe, some neurons are firing, forming new links, or perhaps dusting off an old one. And all of this happens in silence, not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of attention, the kind of silence a forest holds when it listens to the wind. Neurons are shy performers. They do their dance without applause, but the results are everything you know, everything you feel, everything you hope to become. There are some that light up when you remember a scent, others when you solve a puzzle, and still others that respond to rhythm, to kindness, to touch. They form networks, teams, really, like trails that split and merge as you move through the world. And the more you use a trail, the easier it becomes to follow. This is how thoughts become habits, and how habits shape who you are. Now, take a breath. Feel the air glide in, then out. Right now, neurons in your brain are monitoring the rise of your chest, the quiet of your pulse, the weight of your limbs. They don't judge. They only observe and record. But you can choose where to shine your attention. And in doing so, you tell your neurons what matters, what to strengthen, what to hold on to. Even letting go can be learned. Even peace can be practiced. There is something deeply kind about the way your brain listens to you, even when you don't speak, even when all you do is rest. And if ever you doubt whether change is possible, remember this. Every spark begins in the dark. All your neurons need is a reason to light the bridge. And as you lie here, the forest inside you waits patiently, not for action, not for perfection, just for presence, a soft curiosity, a willingness to begin. And when you begin, you build, you connect, you whisper across synapses, and something new begins to glow. Because deep inside your brain, there are paths waiting to be made. And in the next chapter, we'll explore how your experiences, all the things you touch and try and feel, shape these paths like rivers carving stone. For the brain does not simply hold your life. It is sculpted by it. You've wandered through the quiet forest in your mind, where neurons whisper and wait, lighting up softly with each new thought, each fresh breath of curiosity. Now you find yourself pausing in a clearing, open, warm, inviting. Here, the trees seem to lean in gently, as if listening with deep intention. And here begins a new realization, that your brain is not just built by biology. It's sculpted by experience. Imagine a potter at the wheel. Hands steady, clay spinning slowly. The fingers don't press hard. They glide, shape, respond. This is how your experiences touch your brain. Each moment you live, the laughter you share, the tears you wipe, the challenge you rise to meet, leaves behind a trace, a curve in the clay. You are the potter, and you are the clay. It starts in childhood, when the world is fresh and every sound is a song. The brain is sponge-like then, absorbing, molding, firing connections at dizzying speed. But it doesn't stop there. Even now, as you rest and reflect, your experiences continue to sculpt you. Try to recall a memory, Perhaps of something new you learned recently, maybe a recipe, or how to fold something just so, or even a quiet realization about yourself. That memory lives in more than your thoughts. It lives in the new path your neurons laid down. Your brain shifted shape to hold it. It became a part of you, not stored, but woven in. Experience doesn't just influence the brain. It shapes its structure. Each new pattern you notice, each surprise you navigate, each habit you nurture, they all leave impressions, like footprints pressed into fresh earth. Even mistakes matter, maybe especially mistakes. When you try something and fail, your brain doesn't shut down. It adjusts. It asks, what did we learn? Where did we stumble? How can we step differently next time? Mistakes aren't fractures. They are folds in the clay, invitations to press again, to shape anew. This is called experience-dependent plasticity. But all you need to remember tonight is that your life is your chisel, and you are never too late to carve something new. It's not just what happens to you. It's how you meet it. A joyful surprise lights up one path. A quiet failure lights another. Even a pause, even rest, becomes part of the sculpture. The texture of your days becomes the texture of your brain. And because no two lives are the same, no two brains are the same, each one is a singular landscape, etched by love, bent by grief, lifted by curiosity, softened by time. Now, picture the sculptor's wheel again. Slow, circular, steady. Your breath is the wheel. Your attention is the hand. And your experience is the clay. No piece is ever final. You can reshape it, smooth it, add layers of learning and softness with each new day. And here's something beautiful. This shaping doesn't just happen when you're trying. It happens when you play, when you rest, when you listen to music that moves you, or feel the warmth of someone you trust. Even now, lying still in this moment, your experience is sculpting something. The sound of this story, the rhythm of the words, the gentle understanding blooming in your mind. They leave a trace, a soft imprint. Your brain feels it all. And like a sculptor returning to a piece, your neurons adjust. A bit here, a connection there, a deepening curve of comprehension. With time, the sculpture becomes more graceful, not perfect, but real, marked by living, made honest by change. You may sometimes feel stuck. We all do. But your brain is never stuck. It is listening, shaping, becoming. Even in stillness, even in sleep. The truth is, you are never the same person twice. Not quite. Your brain, touched by today, will dream with different wiring tonight. And slowly, that becomes your strength. Because everything you experience, the loud and the quiet, becomes part of the mind's sculpture. So tomorrow, when you feel wonder, or confusion, or connection, know this. Your brain is listening, and it will remember. It will reshape gently, and carry the shape forward. But how does the sculpture become smooth? How does the brain decide which trails to keep, and which ones to soften with time? For that, we follow the path to the next part of your journey, because repeated experiences carve trails deeper, until they become roads of ease and grace. And that is where we go next, into the well-worn pathways built by practice. Your brain is a sculpture in motion, shaped by every brush of experience. But now, we follow a deeper groove, one worn by rhythm, by repetition, by the soft, powerful presence of practice. Welcome to the winding roads your thoughts walk again and again. Not trails of novelty this time, but well-worn paths. Paths your mind knows like muscle memory. Because in this forest of the mind, The more often you step along a trail, the smoother it becomes. Every time you repeat something, a motion, a word, a pattern, your brain doesn't just remember it, it reinforces it, thickens it, turns it from possibility into predictability. Imagine walking through snow. The first time, the effort is heavy. Each step carves a dent. Your feet sink. You push forward slowly, but come back the next day. Step in the same prints. And it's easier. The path starts to pack down. Come again, and again, and now it's a trail, firm beneath you, leading you forward with far less effort. This is what practice does to the brain. It strengthens the bridges between neurons. Signals fire more quickly. The hesitation of newness fades. What was once learning becomes fluency. And this is true not just for physical skills, but for thoughts, emotions, even your sense of self. You practice how you speak, how you move, how you respond to challenge. And each repetition tells the brain, this matters. Build this. Keep this strong. There's a saying in neuroscience, neurons that fire together, wire together. It means the more two brain cells are activated in close rhythm, the stronger their connection becomes. Think of learning to play an instrument. At first, every note feels separate, each finger unsure, each sound isolated. But with time and soft persistence, the notes begin to blend. The music begins to flow. Your hands learn to feel what your mind once had to force. This is not magic. It is biological poetry, and it happens in you. Whether you're practicing a skill or learning how to be gentle with yourself, even your reactions to life can be shaped. You can practice patience. You can practice calm. You can practice seeing beauty in places you once overlooked. And the more often you do, the easier it becomes to return to those states. Because practice is not just repetition. It's devotion. It's sculpting a new version of yourself. Not with effort that hurts, but with care that repeats. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to return. Each time you forget and try again, you reinforce the path. Each time you fail gently and return to focus, you add a new layer of strength. The brain rewards patience. It listens to rhythm more than speed. And here's the quiet miracle. The practice doesn't need to be big. Even 5 minutes a day, even one breath of mindful awareness, begins to shape a trail. You've likely seen this in your own life. How something difficult once became natural. A second language, a yoga pose, a certain kindness you learned to offer yourself. It didn't happen all at once. It happened slowly, one return at a time. That is how the brain learns. Through repetition with attention, through practice with compassion. And this brings us to something even more subtle. Automaticity. That's when a skill becomes so well-worn. You no longer have to think about it. It lives in your bones. Driving a car, tying a shoelace, reciting a song lyric without effort. The brain has moved the task from conscious effort to automatic action. It has made space for something else. That's how practice frees you, not by adding more weight, but by taking some away, by making what was once effortful feel like flow. But be mindful, because the brain does not distinguish between good and bad practice. It strengthens whatever you repeat. So if you rehearse worry, if you replay fear, if you practice self-doubt, those trails deepen too. This is not a fault. It is simply the forest doing what it was built to do. Respond. But now you know. And knowing gives you a gentle power. You can begin to steer the practice. Choose which trail to walk more often. It's not about suppressing thoughts. It's about guiding attention, returning again and again to what feels truest, kindest, most alive, and every return matters. Each one whispers to your neurons. This is the way. Now, as your body sinks deeper into stillness, think of one thing you've practiced, intentionally or not, over the past few days. Was it a way of speaking? A small act of care? A loop of thought? No judgment. Just noticing. Whatever it was, it left a mark. And now, you can begin to choose the next mark. Because the forest is listening, and the path reshapes with every step, even in sleep. Practice continues. Dreams often replay the day. Rehearse movement. Explore feelings. It's the mind's quiet way of packing the snow, even as you sleep. So tonight, you are not just resting. You are deepening the trails that serve you. And when the morning comes, you'll return to those trails with a bit more ease, a bit more flow. But what if those trails also hold memory? What if your steps are shaped by stories planted long ago? In our next chapter, we enter the garden of memory, where some blossoms return with each season, and others fade gently with time. You've walked the well-worn paths of practice, stepping softly across trails laid by repetition and patience. Now, follow the scent of something older, something delicate and deeply rooted. Welcome to the garden of memory. This garden doesn't lie behind you. It lives within you. And like any garden, it is alive. Some memories rise brightly, vivid and clear, like sunflowers. Moments you return to again and again. Their shapes etched by emotion and light. Others are soft ground cover, subtle and half forgotten, but still there, still holding the soil in place. Memory is not a cabinet. It is not a dusty archive. It is not a shelf filled with labels and folders. It breathes. It changes. It forgets with intention and remembers with feeling. You are not a recorder. You are a gardener. And your brain, that quiet sculptor of thought, tends this garden with great care. When something happens to you, a touch, a sound, a discovery, the brain doesn't just store the fact. It senses, does this matter? Is it linked to emotion? Will it help us survive? Thrive? Connect? If yes, it waters the seed. A neural pattern begins to grow. Emotion acts like rain. The more feeling in a moment, the more likely it is to take root. That's why you remember joy so sharply. Why fear leaves long shadows. Why love echoes long after it's spoken. And just like a garden, your memories need tending. When you recall a memory, you don't simply pull it out as is. You rebuild it. You walk back into the soil, touch the petals again, shape the moment anew. This is called reconsolidation, and it's a gift, because it means memories can change, not in truth, but in tone. A painful memory, once too sharp, can soften with time. A lesson learned the hard way can bloom into wisdom. You are not trapped in the past. You are always editing, always pruning, always growing forward. Some memories fade not because they're lost, but because they're no longer needed. The brain makes space, pulls weeds so new seeds can take root. This forgetting is not failure. It is grace, the kindness of making room for what matters now and what helps the brain choose. Repetition, emotion, sleep. Yes, sleep. The quiet gardener who works in darkness. When you rest, your brain revisits the day's soil. It strengthens roots, trims excess, lays mulch over memories to keep them safe. That's why a good night's sleep is often better than another hour of study, because the brain doesn't just gather. It arranges, it protects, it nurtures. Now picture the garden again. You walk along the paths, hands brushing against blossoms and brambles alike. Here is a flower of your childhood, a sound, a laugh, a scent. It surprises you, rises without warning, but it's always been there, tucked in soft soil. Here is a cluster of mistakes. Not ugly, not unwelcome, just reminders of how far you've come. And over there, a winding vine of people you've loved. Each touch, each word, each memory, still humming with life. You don't need to remember it all. No garden blooms all at once. What matters is what lives inside you now. The strength drawn from old roots. The comfort of moments that still warm the soil. And you can plant new memories, too. Right now, this very moment, becomes one. The rhythm of this story, the rise and fall of your breath, the image of a garden blooming inside your mind. They take root. Gently, quietly, willingly. Your brain holds them, not with grasping, but with grace. And tomorrow, when you recall this feeling, the stillness, the peace, the memory will rise like a morning bloom, because that's what memory is. Not a copy, but a living return. So tonight, water what you wish to keep, let go of what no longer serves, and know that even sleep is part of the garden's care. You do not need to hold it all. You only need to trust that the seeds will stay and the roots will remember. Now, let your breath soften. Let your mind grow quiet. And listen, in the still soil of memory, something else begins to stir. Sometimes, when damage comes, when the garden is scorched or torn up, the brain still finds a way to grow. In the next chapter, we'll visit the places in the brain where healing begins. You've wandered the garden of memory, where joy and sorrow grow side by side. Now, the path winds towards something deeper, the quiet miracle of healing. Your brain, you see, is not only a builder, it is also a mender. Sometimes, the forest is struck by lightning. Sometimes, a branch falls. A path is broken. A flower wilts. But even then, especially then, the brain begins to reach, to reroute, to rebuild. This isn't hope in the abstract. It's biology. It's called neuroplasticity again, but this time in the service of repair. When an injury happens, when cells are lost, the brain doesn't simply grieve. It searches. It looks for other cells nearby. Can you help carry this message? Can you learn this skill? Can you take over where another could not go? Imagine a city where a bridge collapses. The river doesn't stop flowing. Instead, new bridges are planned. Alternate roads emerge. And while it may not be the same, it still works. Your brain is that city, and its rivers never stop seeking the sea. Even in trauma, even in silence, even when memory falters or speech stumbles, there is motion, there is reorganization. Sometimes recovery feels slow, but healing is not measured in speed. It is measured in reconnection, one tiny spark at a time. A stroke may rob someone of words, but with practice and patience, other regions rise to learn. The melody of speech finds a new rhythm. A fall may shake the balance of a dancer, but new neurons awaken to guide the steps again. Even in emotional wounds, where no skin can see the damage, the brain quietly reshapes. Grief might feel like fire, but in time, the ash becomes fertile. New understanding takes root. You felt this before, haven't you? How time softens the edges of pain. How one day you wake, and laughter feels possible again. That is the brain at work. Not forgetting, but healing. Not ignoring, but adapting. It's not always perfect. Some paths are never the same, but new trails form alongside the old. Different doesn't mean broken. It means changed. And the most beautiful part? The brain doesn't do it alone. It listens to your actions. It responds to your choices. Every act of self-kindness, every repetition of a new habit, every deep breath you take becomes a signal. Let's grow here. Even imagination helps. When you picture movement, the brain lights up, as if you're doing it. That's why athletes rehearse in the mind. Why patients recovering from injury can begin again in thought before action. The brain practices healing, even when the body rests. You may not feel it. You may not know it. But beneath your silence, the forest is adjusting. It is not quiet in defeat. It is quiet in repair. Even sleep supports recovery. In those deep, slow waves of rest, the brain flushes away waste, clears inflammation, reinforces new growth. It's not just rest. It's restoration. So tonight, if you carry something broken, something worn or aching, know this. You are still healing. You may not see the road, but the forest is finding a way through. And if you've ever wondered whether your brain remembers how to smile, how to focus, how to begin again, it does. It waits patiently for the signal, for the moment, for the trust that things can be different. And it answers with growth. Even emotions are part of this process. They tell the brain where to pay attention, where to send care, what to protect. So don't be afraid to feel. Even the hard feelings are information. They're part of your healing map. And you're not alone in this. Many brains heal together. Families recovering loss. Communities reshaping after trauma. Even cultures rewiring old patterns. The healing of one mind sends ripples into others. We are social beings, and our brains are shaped by our bonds. So in your moments of pain, don't retreat forever. Let others walk beside you. Their presence becomes a scaffold, a shared neural rhythm, and healing multiplies. Now, feel the warmth of that. Not just science, but hope built from it. And let yourself rest in this knowing. Even when all feels still, your brain is searching, building, becoming. And as the forest heals, it opens space for something else. Emotion, not just as reaction, but as color, as signal, as part of the brain's living texture. So next, we'll listen to how feelings paint the inner landscape of your mind. You've wandered through healing, where your brain repairs quietly, one spark at a time. Now, the path winds towards sensation, not in your fingers, but in your chest, in your breath, in your bones. Welcome to the place where your brain feels emotions, those strange companions that visit uninvited, some loud, some quiet, some too deep for words. We often think of feelings as storms, unpredictable, wild, disruptive, but in truth, they are signals, messengers, and the brain listens to them with great care. Emotions don't happen in the heart, though we feel them there. They begin in the brain, in regions like the amygdala, which scans the world for danger and delight. They rise in the insula, which tracks the body's state, tension, temperature, heartbeat. They echo in the prefrontal cortex, where thoughts and feelings mix, where reason and reaction learn to dance. All of these regions speak together, like instruments in a quiet orchestra, tuning your awareness to the world within and around you, and the feeling that results. Joy, sadness, anxiety, calm, is not random. It is your brain's way of highlighting what matters. You touch a warm memory, and your brain floods with serotonin. You face something uncertain now, and adrenaline stirs in your chest. You feel seen, understood, and oxytocin hums through your bloodstream. These aren't just moods. They are guidance. Your brain uses emotion to tell you where to go, what to avoid, what to remember. Because emotion and memory are intertwined like roots beneath the soil. The more feeling a moment holds, the deeper its imprint. This is why a single childhood glance can linger for decades. Why a gentle word during hardship feels like a stone in the pocket. A weight, a comfort, a memory. Emotions teach, and more than that, they shape. When you feel something often, your brain begins to build around it. If fear is repeated, the brain strengthens those circuits, not to punish, but to protect. If joy is practiced, the brain expands its capacity to savor, to return more easily to peace. This is called emotional plasticity. The mind learns not just what to feel, but how to feel it. And the good news is, you can help shape this learning by paying attention to feelings without judgment. You change how your brain responds. You become less reactive, more aware, more at home in your own mind. This is what mindfulness does, not erasing emotion, but welcoming it, making space for the message beneath the mood. Even difficult emotions serve a purpose. Sadness slows you down now. It invites reflection. It says, pause here. Anger stirs energy. It says, something matters. Fear heightens senses. It says, be careful. And joy? Joy is a trail marker. It says, more of this. None of them are wrong. They are all tools, and your brain uses them to build a deeper understanding of life. And just as a feeling can shape your thoughts can shape your feelings. The way you interpret an event, the story you tell yourself, it influences the chemical soup that floods your mind. This is not just poetry. It's neurochemistry. A reframe can calm the amygdala. A hopeful image can soothe the insula. A grateful thought can ripple through your whole nervous system, like a lullaby. That's why a deep breath works. Why a walk in the sun helps. Why kindness, given or received, can shift your whole day. You are not helpless in the face of emotion. You are a co-creator. Even now, as you lie here, your brain is tuning your emotional state. Each word, each pause, each breath creates a subtle shift. And these shifts are not forgotten. They are folded into the forest. They become part of the trail. So don't fear your feelings. They are not enemies. They are lanterns, held by your mind, to help you see more clearly. When you feel, even deeply, even painfully, it means your brain is alive and learning. You are not broken. You are sensitive, and that is strength. Emotions remind you what matters. They soften you. They teach you to be gentle with yourself and with others, because every brain feels, even if it hides it, even if it stumbles through expression. We are emotional beings first, cognitive ones second, and emotion is not the opposite of reason. It is the ground it stands on. Let that be a comfort. Let it ease you now. You do not need to resist your feelings. You only need to listen, to ask, what is this trying to show me? Because beneath each wave of emotion is a message, and beneath the message, a need. And when you meet that need with care, with breath, with presence, the emotion softens. It passes. It leaves wisdom in its wake. Tonight, let your feelings rest. Let them be what they are. Let them rise and fall, like gentle tides, along the shore of your mind. For tomorrow, as you wake, they'll still be there, but shaped by rest, informed by dreams, soothed by sleep, and in that softened state, you'll begin to notice something new, that your brain doesn't just feel. It also reflects. It tells stories. It asks, who am I? Why am I here? What does it all mean? And in the next chapter, We'll explore the quiet wonder of your sense of self-awe, the story your brain tells about you. Your journey is wound through practice, memory, and emotion. Now, you pause in a gentle clearing, stillness all around, and one question rising from the hush. Who am I? It's not shouted. It's not hurried. Just a quiet wondering. The way the stars seem to ask, without ever speaking. Your brain is not just a machine that moves or remembers. It also reflects. It builds a sense of self, a soft thread tying together all your days. You are not born knowing who you are. That story is written slowly, moment by moment, memory by memory. The brain gathers. It collects experiences, observes reactions, and weaves them into meaning. That meaning becomes a story, and that story becomes yourself. Not the real you, perhaps, but the version you can hold, the voice that helps you navigate, the shape your mind gives to being alive. It begins early. The first time you use the word I, the first time you remember being seen, or unseen, or safe, or afraid. The brain strings these moments together, and from them, a character begins to form, not one set in stone, but one made of sand and wind, shifting with each new tide of experience. You are not a statue. You are a story being told in real time, and this story lives in your default mode network, a web of brain regions that lights up not when you're doing something, but when you're being, when your mind wanders, when you daydream, when you reflect. That's when this network hums. It's as if your brain, in its quiet hours, is piecing together the puzzle of you. It asks, what kind of person am I? What have I been through? What does it mean? And you answer, not always with words, but with feeling, with memory, with the choices you make each day, that voice inside, the one that narrates your life. It's not always accurate. Sometimes it's harsh. Sometimes it borrows language from others, from wounds, from fear. But it's not final. You can change it. You can retell your story with more kindness, more softness, more truth. The brain allows it. It welcomes revision. Neural pathways shaped by old beliefs can be softened, rerouted, rewritten. It begins with noticing. When you hear yourself say, I always mess up, ask gently, is that the real story? Maybe there's a different version. I've learned from every stumble. This is not pretending. It's returning to the quiet narrator and offering a new page. Because the story you tell yourself becomes the filter through which you see the world. It colors your choices, your relationships, your peace, and like all stories, it grows richer when it's lived with intention. Your brain listens to that story. It aligns your actions to match it. It's called cognitive consistency, the brain's tendency to live in harmony with the identity it believes is true. So if you call yourself broken, it will look for proof. If you call yourself resilient, it will find that too. You are always shaping yourself by how you name it, even in rest, even now. The brain is weaving tonight's feelings into tomorrow's story. So ask gently, what kind of story do I want to live? You can't control every chapter, but you can shape the tone, the pacing, the inner dialogue. You can become a kinder narrator, one who forgives, one who celebrates, one who listens. And remember, you are not the only author. Others help write you too. The people you love, the ones who hurt you, the moments when someone believed in you more than you believed in yourself. These become part of your plot, but the story is still yours to hold, to honor, to evolve. Now, as you lie here, The story continues. A chapter written in breath, in heartbeat, in stillness. Even sleep becomes part of it. A place where your brain rearranges the scenes, lets go of what no longer fits, and strengthens the truths you want to carry. Tomorrow, you'll wake not just rested, but slightly reauthored, a little more complete. And in time, you'll see the self not as one fixed shape, but as a river, ever-changing, ever-true. And where do rivers flow? Toward connection. In our next chapter, we'll explore how your brain finds others, how empathy blooms, and how the mind is never fully itself until it touches another mind. You've traveled through the forest of memory, felt the stirrings of emotion, listened to the quiet narrator within. Now, the path leads outward, beyond your own thoughts, toward the minds of others, because your brain, though nestled in solitude, was built for connection. It reaches, it listens, it mirrors, even when you're silent, even when you think you're alone. Inside you are networks designed to sense what others feel, to soften when someone cries, to light up when someone laughs. This is empathy, not a poetic ideal, but a real, biological bridge. At its core are mirror neurons, special cells that fire, not only when you act, but when you see someone else act. You watch someone smile, and your brain simulates the feeling. You hear a voice tremble, and your own chest responds. This is not imagination. It's resonance. Your brain was wired to live inside other brains. Briefly, gently, through sensation and understanding. This is how babies learn. Before they speak, they feel. Before they understand language, they understand faces. A mother smiles, and the infant's brain lights with warmth. A father frowns, and the body flinches. The brain absorbs others, like sunlight through leaves, transforming it into energy, awareness, growth. Even now, as you lie quietly, you carry pieces of other people inside you. The words that shaped you, the kindness that soothed you, the wounds that taught you where your edges are. You are, in many ways, a mosaic of human contact, and your brain reflects that. The insula, the anterior cingulate, the prefrontal cortex. These regions help you interpret what others feel. They help you say, I see you. I know this feeling. I've been there too. This doesn't mean you always understand perfectly, but your brain tries. It reaches out across the space between. Empathy is not passive. It's a skill. It can be grown, strengthened, practiced, and like all skills, it reshapes your brain. The more often you step into someone else's experience, the more flexible your mind becomes, not just emotionally, but structurally. You begin to notice more subtle tones, micro-expressions, shifts in posture or silence. You learn that presence is sometimes more powerful than advice, and something beautiful happens. As you understand others, you begin to understand yourself, because empathy turns your attention inward, too. You start to notice your own waves of feeling, your own needs, your own longings. You become a gentler narrator to your own story, and the brain rewards this. It releases oxytocin now, the bonding chemical. When you feel connected, it calms the amygdala, so fear softens. It activates the reward system, so giving feels just as good as receiving. This is not coincidence. It's nature's design. Your brain knows. To survive, you need each other. But empathy can tire when you feel too much, when you absorb others' pain without pause. It becomes heavy. This is where compassion steps in. Compassion says, I feel this with you, and I want to help. It brings action, not overwhelm. It moves the mind from paralysis to purpose, and the brain shifts again. Regions like the medial prefrontal cortex support this transition, helping you hold space without drowning in it. This is emotional balance. This is healthy connection, and it grows when you care for yourself as much as for others, because your empathy is strongest when it's rooted in rest. And tonight, that's what you're offering yourself. This rest deepens your capacity to connect, because a rested brain listens better, feels more clearly, responds more wisely, even in sleep. Your mind rehearses connection. Dreams often involve others, faces known and unknown, relationships revisited, emotions explored. It's the brain's quiet classroom for empathy. So as you drift now, know that your mind is not only healing, it's preparing to reach again, to offer presence, to receive care, to walk beside another with a steadier breath, because in the end, you are not a self alone. You are a node in a vast, living web of minds. And the more you connect, the more human you become. And yet, connection isn't just emotional. It's also electrical, rhythmic, woven through the pulse of the brain. In our next chapter, we'll step into that deeper rhythm to explore how the brain's waves shape your state and how silence holds a frequency of its own. You felt your way through memory, through empathy, through the stories your mind quietly tells. Now, we step even deeper, beneath words, beneath thought, into the quiet rhythm of your brain's inner ocean. Because while you live your days in sentences and sensations, your brain communicates in waves, not the crashing kind, but pulses, tiny ripples of electricity that move through your neural forest like wind through trees. This is the brain's secret rhythm. It begins before birth and hums until your final sleep, a soft, pulsing orchestra, playing you through every state of being. Each wave has a tempo, a frequency, a mood, and just like the ocean, your mind shifts between them, depending on where you are, what you're doing, what you're feeling, what you need. Let's start with the slowest, delta waves. These are the deep drummers of sleep, slow, wide, and powerful. They rise when your body sinks into deepest rest, when dreams turn silent, when healing begins. Delta waves are what cradle you at night, washing over the brain, flushing out waste, repairing tissue, consolidating memory. Without delta, you'd wake foggy, unrestored. So when your breath deepens, when your limbs soften, and your world turns dim, delta takes the stage. Next come theta waves. These are gentler, more poetic. Theta appears in the moments between wakefulness and sleep, between thought and dream, when you're drowsy, drifting, imagining. This is the wave of creativity, of intuition, of the memories that surface unexpectedly in a daydream. Theta hums through meditation, through trance, through the quiet just before you fall asleep. Right now, as you listen, you may already be in Theta's arms. Above that, we meet alpha waves, the rhythm of calm alertness, when your eyes are closed but your mind is still present, not chasing, just being. Alpha is the breath between thoughts. It's what rises when you rest but remain aware. It smooths out mental chatter, softens tension, and prepares you for deeper focus or deeper sleep. This wave often appears in mindfulness, in peaceful reflection, or when you walk slowly through nature, noticing without naming. Alpha is your mind's gentle exhale. Then comes beta, the rhythm of doing, focused, fast, precise. Beta is the wave of problem solving, of conversation, of movement through the world. It sharpens attention, but too much beta, too long spent chasing tasks, can lead to fatigue, even anxiety. So we balance beta with the softer rhythms below. And at the top, gamma waves. These are fast, complex, rare. They emerge in moments of insight. When many parts of your brain light up at once, gamma synchronizes different regions, bringing clarity, integration, aha. It may hum during peak experiences, profound understanding, or sudden connection. But you don't need to chase gamma. It arrives like lightning, not by force, but by flow. All these waves rise and fall, like tides inside you. You move through them each day, without knowing, waking in beta, daydreaming in alpha, napping in theta, sleeping in delta. Your brain knows when to shift, when to slow, when to sharpen, when to surrender. And what's most beautiful, these waves aren't isolated. They dance together, even in sleep. You cycle through them, each phase with its own magic, its own meaning. That's why sleep feels so healing. It's not just rest, it's rhythm. And in meditation, you learn to feel these waves, not directly, but through stillness, through presence. You begin to notice when the mind slows, when the chatter fades, when something quieter rises beneath it. That's the wave speaking. That's the music of your mind. So tonight, let your body soften into rhythm. Let the waves roll in. Feel the delta lullaby beneath your thoughts. Feel theta tug you into dreams. Let alpha smooth the edges of the day. You do not need to control these waves. You only need to float. And as you drift, remember, your brain doesn't hum alone. When people gather, in song, in story, in silence, their brainwaves begin to sync. This is entrainment, the quiet resonance between minds. It's why a room of meditating people feels peaceful, why shared laughter feels electric, why storytelling soothes across generations. We are rhythmic beings, living in a rhythmic world. And the more you listen to your inner waves, the more harmony you find, inside and out. So rest now, knowing that beneath your stillness, the ocean of your mind continues to move, to renew, to sing. And when morning comes, those waves will carry you back to waking, refreshed, balanced, whole. But before we rise, there's one more place to go, a place where everything we've learned, plasticity, memory, emotion, rhythm, comes together. Now, the waves have quieted. Delta hums steady beneath you. Alpha and theta drift like distant clouds. Your mind has followed rhythm home. But the journey doesn't end here. There is still a final chamber, one that opens only when you surrender fully. It's the world inside your sleep, the place where your brain dreams. Dreams may seem strange, disjointed, whimsical, sometimes wild, but they are not nonsense. They are language, just not the kind we speak aloud. Dreams are your brain's final act of the day, its last chance to file away what matters, to tend the garden of memory, to feel what couldn't be felt by daylight. Each night, you cycle through sleep stages, and in the deepest part, REM, your mind begins to paint. No paintbrush, no plan, only pattern, emotion, and experience, woven together like stars into constellations. Your prefrontal cortex, the logical judge, softens during dreaming. It loosens its grip, and in that loosening, symbols rise. A door becomes a fear. A forest becomes a memory. A stranger's face becomes a reflection of yourself. This is how your brain speaks when it's no longer explaining. It doesn't lecture. It reveals. In dreams, you revisit the past, but not to repeat it, to reshape it. Emotions that were too sharp now appear in metaphor. Moments too loud now arrive as whispers. And in this silent storytelling, the brain practices. It rehearses conversations you haven't had. It simulates dangers you've never faced. It tests out emotions, like trying on coats in a quiet room. This is not waste. It's wisdom. Dreams integrate your day into yourself. They help you understand. They help you let go. And sometimes, rarely, but beautifully, a dream shows you something new. An idea, a feeling, a direction. It doesn't shout. It simply stays, like the taste of a word you can't remember, but still know is true. Even if you forget the dream, your brain does not. It carries the work forward, healing, connecting, rearranging. You wake changed. This is the final magic of sleep, not unconsciousness, but secret transformation. And as you lie here now, perhaps already halfway between worlds, know that your mind is preparing to dream, to do its quiet, sacred work, to wander through symbols that feel familiar but are not bound by time. And when it returns, it will bring you back, softer, wiser, more whole. This journey we've shared, from neurons that stretch like roots, to memories blooming in soft gardens, to waves that shape your deepest rhythms. It has been your brain's story, a story not of machinery, but of mystery, of a living, breathing mind that never stops learning how to be. And now, as the final chapter turns, let the story pause, let the ink dry, so tomorrow's page can begin clean. Breathe deeply, feel your body, your rhythm, your stillness. Let the last thought be this: you are not just your brain. You are the journey it keeps gently walking. Through every night, through every change, you remain in motion, even in sleep. Thank you for listening, for resting here, for joining us on this path through the mind. This has been the Bedtime Sleep, a place where science becomes silence and understanding becomes rest. Subscribe for more dreams whispered in truth. And when you're ready, come walk the next journey with us. But for now, sleep well. The dreaming mind awaits.